another class of microbial biomass production using fermentation technology. Particularly, we are speaking about whenever we say fermentation, it automatically refers to the large scale commercial fermenters, what we are going to use, or the production. Commercial scale also you can use that word, or production scale also the word can be used. So last class we spoke about the single cell protein. Let us today speak about yeast. Okay, yeast biomass production. So a typical microbial biomass products include baker's yeast, that is the Saccharomyces cerevisiae. Strains are used particularly as heterologous protein production. Okay, the yeast production takes approximately 5 days to be produced, because this is all belongs to the fungal family. Okay, and it takes at least 5 days to grow from the day of your start till the end. So already we have told this bacteria, algae are also cultivated in large quantity because they can be used as a supplement, and fungi can be used. Most of your substrates such as the starch and cellulose can be used by your fungi. So earlier class itself we have spoken about the bacteria and fungi which is used in the single cell protein. Let us stick on today only with the yeast. Okay, and when you want to produce this yeast biomass, okay, you can see that most of the substrates such as the starches and cellulose can act as a biofeedstock for your yeast. And the baker's yeast is known as the Saccharomyces cerevisiae. Strains are used as a host, okay, for production of the heterologous protein products formation. And I also told that it almost takes up to 5 days to produce your biomass. So, what does this yeast organisms require? So, they also require nutrition, that is the energy. The organisms requires energy, and the main source of the energy is the substrate, and that is you can use your sugar beet and molasses because these are easily and readily fermentable, because this yeast and this molasses, whatever the carbon sources, they are easily they can be assimilated by the organism. At the same time, they are readily available and they are inexpensible also. Apart from this, it requires you have to add minerals, right? You have to provide minerals, vitamins, salt for the growth, which are often added to the molasses prior to the flash sterilization, which produces mash that is used to for the growth of yeast. So the yield per unit biomass is influenced by several factors, which includes the producing strain, what type of strain you have chosen, what is the media composition, what are the carbohydrates and nitrogen sources or cations you have produced, and other minerals, trace elements, vitamins. All these are again have the influence on the final product, final biomass production. So the fermentation condition, what it involves, it requires the pH, temperature, agitation, aeration, as well as the mode of fermentation, what mode you're going to use, whether it is be a batch or fed or continuous. For ACP, we found that continuous fermentation is good. So for growth of any microorganisms, as I said, it requires energy, and energy how it requires from the substrate. And for yeast, you better provide the substrates such as sugar beet and molasses because these are easily and readily fermentable. They can easily ferment this and assimilate it to produce the energy. Apart from this, it requires, I told, minerals and vitamins, salts, and all. And these are often added to the molasses. Okay, these all materials are added to the molasses prior to the flash sterilization. This is the flash sterilization equipment. It is a slight modification of your normal sterilization process. Okay. So when you do sterilization, what happens? It produces a mash, that is your molasses. It forms a mash that is used for the growth of the yeast. Okay, so flash sterilization is just a modification of your conventional steam fermentation sterilization, students. That is, here you are using pre-vacuum or steam flush. Uh, what is that? Pressure pulse. Here, what happens? In which the steam is flashed into the items which are placed in the open tray, or it is placed in the specially designed covered rigid container to allow the rapid penetration of the steam. Okay, see here, it is an open tray or it is placed in a specially designed covered rigid container to allow the rapid penetration of the steam. That is why we are using that flash sterilization process. So, apart from providing nutrition, first you have to select what? Yeah, your suitable strain and screening. That it should be, see to that it is a pure culture strain. And you know how to produce a pure culture strain by microbiological technique, which is used. And this strain, whatever you are producing, it is used as a seed culture, that is as a starter culture. That is the starting material. Okay, so you produce a small amount of seed culture, select a particular strain, pure strain, and this will act as a starting material. For example, even curd, when you purchase milk and you want to prepare the curd, you use the starter curd. That is the, whatever the left out curd was there previously, you add that curd into your milk, and then the next day you can see that the curd is being formed. That is what is known as the starter culture. So the starting material and the culture is then cultivated in the laboratory shake flask or pilot scale, and then it is used for the large scale production. The optimization of the culture are carried out during the pilot scale using the starter culture. What is your starter culture? It is your seed culture. What is my seed culture? It is my strain, what I have grown it in the laboratory. I have screened it and selected the best variety. Okay, that is known as a starter culture. So from your shake class, you came into your laboratory scale and then into your pilot plant scale, where you're using your starter culture, that is your microorganism. And not only that, the production, the optimization of culture are all carried during your pilot scale using the starter culture. We begin a large scale production of the yeast once it is successful in the pilot scale. So you are going to grow this yeast in the fed batch fermentation. Okay, where the yeast is fed with what? It is fed with molasses, phosphoric acid, ammonia, minerals, salts for the growth of your microorganisms. So usually what you do, as I told here, okay, these all the salts or your vitamins for the growth, which is often added to the molasses prior to your flash sterilization. Before your sterilization itself, you should add all this. Okay, if you find that some of the material cannot withstand the steam sterilization, you can go for filter sterilization. So you are using this, as I said, you can use the flash sterilization, which produces the mash. Okay, which produces a mash that is used to feed the yeast as it grows. The yeast has to multiply now, so they use this. So what all you require? You require seed yeast. Okay, the starting material. We require aeration, cooling, and nutrient addition are started, and you start with your fermentation. That is, it's occurs between 15 to 12 hours of your fermentation. So the yeast is washed with cold water and held in the storage tank before it is inoculated into the commercial fermentation tanks. You have to remember this point, very important. So the process of fermentation, what you do is the liquid seed yeast, okay, the seed material, the starting yeast what you produced, okay, that liquid seed yeast, it should be particularly washed and held in a storage tanks. There are storage tanks wherein you can wash this yeast with cold water, and it is held in the storage tank before it is inoculated into your large scale fermenters or the commercial scale fermenter. So when we come to the process, the liquid seed yeast and water should be fed one third to half of the fermenter volume, as fermentation is fed with nutrition in increment manner. So if this is your fermenter, don't fully add your nutrients. You add to one third to half of your fermenter, because what method we are using? We are using fed batch. And what is the process in the fed batch? In fed batch, you are going on adding the fresh culture media without harvesting the product. The end product you are not going to harvest. And what is the temperature we are going to maintain? The temperature what we are going to maintain is the 30 degree centigrade, okay, and the pH is around 4.5 to 5.5. The resultant broth is separated and washed with water, and it is recentrifuged to yield a yeast cream which is cooled to about 7 degree centigrade. Okay, so the temperature what you have to keep is around 30 degree centigrade. The pH is 4.5 to 5.5. The resultant broth is separated, okay, that is you separate your broth and your um, yeast, okay, they're separated, washed with water, and they are recentrifuged to yield what? Yeast cream. Okay, the yeast creams will settle down, you can use that, and which is used, which is then cooled for at 7 degree centigrade. So this is the flow chart of your baker's yeast preparation. See, first is the preparation of molasses. Okay, that is they have taken the beet molasses. Okay, then they have dilution and sterilization, and then you add your seed fermenter. Okay, this, that is your microorganisms. You provide nutrients to your microorganisms, and you add all this molasses which you have sterilized to the seed fermenter. So how you get your seed fermenter? That is the microorganism. How you prepare the culture? You will be having the what viable pure culture, which is usually frozen. Okay, it is cryopreserved. I've kept it in very low temperature condition, and then you grow that. You thaw it and grow it in the growth tube, and then you grow it in a some amount, okay, such that it is sufficient as a starter culture. So pre-pure culture tanks, they are grown, these organisms, because you want it in larger quantity, right? And these all forms is what? Seed fermenter. Then what we do is, once my bioproduct is formed, that is the yeast is being formed, what type of yeast? Baker's yeast is formed. It is separated, it is rinsed, and for commercial fermenters, then you pressure filterize it, and then your baker's yeast is ready. This is the flow chart of your baker's yeast. So these are the important steps in the production of your baker's yeast. So students, as I said earlier, the yeast production, this baker's yeast production in the laboratory and all, it takes up to 5 years to, I mean 5 days to produce. Okay, it requires 5 days to produce. And what is the raw material you're using? It can be your molasses or beet, sugar beet, okay? That is from beetroot. Sugar beet it can be, or it can be the molasses, cane molasses. Why? Because these are the sugars which are present in the molasses are readily fermentable by your yeast. And the yeast are also needs, apart from this, what your yeast requires, it requires minerals, vitamins and salts for the growth, which are often added to what? They're often added to your molasses. Okay. Prior to the flash sterilization, before you go for your flash sterilization of your molasses, you add up all these nutrients, that is your minerals, vitamins, salts. Okay. And then go for the flash sterilization. What happens? It produces a mash of the molasses. That mash, whatever the mash is being produced, you can allow it for the, or use it as a feed for the growth of your yeast, right? So following this, what you do, the next step you see that following the addition of the seed yeast, that is the starting culture, you have to have a check into your aeration, okay, cooling, the nutrients what you have added, and your fermentation will start for 15 to 20 hours of fermentation will take place. Then the liquid seed yeast and additional water will occupy only one third to one half of the fermenter. You should not fill it fully because you are again adding the nutrition in the increment manner. Constant addition of nutrients during the course of fermentation will bring about the fermenters to the final volume. Final volume means don't think that it is up to here, okay? Because there is always that head space volume you should give. So the rate of nutrient addition increases throughout the fermentation, and by the end of the process, the number of yeast cells would have increased to 5 to 8 times. Okay, that is 5 to 8 folds it would have increased the yeast. So what is the temperature you're providing? The temperature what I'm providing is 30 degrees centigrade, and the pH I'm providing is 4.5 to 5.5. What is the end of your fermentation? The resultant broth. Okay, we'll see this picture. The resultant broth is separated. It is washed with water. It is recentrifuged to yield what? Yeast cream. Okay, which is then cooled to about 7 degrees centigrade. So this is how the baker's yeast is produced. Similarly, like even like medicinal mushrooms, okay, which have a lot of profound health promoting benefits, even they are used by this fermentation method. Recently, a number of substances of mushroom origin have been isolated, identified, and shown to have physiological activities. Currently, the commercial products from medicinal mushroom are obtained through the field cultivation of the fruiting body. That is what you eat, right? The fruiting body of the mushroom. So, however, in this case, it is difficult to control the quality of the final product. Okay, but because it is growing in nature, you can't go and interfere with its production. So, therefore, now what they are doing is they are producing these mushrooms, okay, as a form of biomass in the submerged fermentation. So the subvert fermentation of your mycelia form of mushroom that is producing fungi has received enormous attention as a promising alternative for efficient production of biomass for medicinal mushrooms and active metabolites. So what I mean to tell is your mushrooms are well known to have many health benefits. Usually you grow it in the field. Nowadays it can be grown even in the submerged fermentation, wherein you can alter the process because fermentation is under your control, right? Whatever you want, you can add it. So it is seen to be a promising alternative for efficient production of biomass of medicinal mushroom. and other active metabolites. But as I'm saying, no students, like it is easy that whatever some positive application, there is also demerits also. Okay, so there are many technical problems is yet to be need to be solved in any type of fermentation, including the characterization of the variation that occur during submerged fermentation, cultivation of mushroom in bioreactors, and their effect on the growth of product formation. All this should be standardized. Okay, so in overall, what we can say is fermentation is one of the best technique. Okay, instead of producing, see, I told you, take a simple example of your penicillium. If that penicillium is just produced in the lab scale, will it would have been sufficient for the number of people? You know that penicillium antibiotics was used during the World War and it saved so many lives, right? That is what we go for, larger scale fermentation. And immediately you don't jump to large scale fermentation because you're investing your money so much in those fermenters or in those plants. So you go step by step. You select your microorganism, screen that microorganism, see that is a pure microorganism, then grow it in the laboratory. What is the microorganism you have chosen? And provide such type of substrate. The substrate should have carbon, it should have nitrogen, it should have minerals, vitamins, amino acids. All this is required. And you require a starter culture to initiate the fermentation. Apart from that, your fermenter physical and chemical properties are also important. Whether you're going for agitation, whether you're going for sparging, are there baffles in your system? Okay, is there cooling jacket? What type of cooling jackets are there? Is it a hollow baffle cooling jacket, or it is having a draft hollow draft to cooling uh, fermenter are you using? Which type of fermenter can I use? Whether I can use fed or continuous or batch fermentation. What is the heat transfer? What is the oxygen transfer? What is your mass transfer? All this is important. Apart from that, downstream processing also becomes important. So in every step there should be monitoring and your data should be recorded. Where you have gone wrong, you have to rectify it in your pilot scale itself and then go for the commercial scale. But there also you'll face problem because of the different conditions which I've already spoken in my previous video. It will not be the exactly same condition what you're going to get in the laboratory scale and the continuous fermentation. It is not the same. Okay, so that point should be kept in mind. So with this, we conclude a portion on the biomass production. Thank you all.